So I want you to picture the most experienced veteran at your workplace. And you know exactly the person I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Every organization has one.
Right. They're the one who never actually needs to glance at the standard operating procedures because they just inherently know the machine's bizarre little quirks.
They don't even need the manual.
Exactly. Or, they can spot the hidden landmines in a massive project proposal from a mile away just by skimming page one. They have this intuition that feels, almost like magic to everyone else.
But it's not magic.
Yeah.
It's just decades of hard-won experience.
It is. But now I want you to imagine the collective panic that ripples through the management team when that exact person announces they're retiring at the end of the month.
Oh, total panic. Because what happens to all that irreplaceable wisdom?
Right. The stark reality is that it usually just walks right out the door with them.
Which is wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
The realization hits that the organization's most valuable asset isn't, sitting on a server or listed on a balance sheet. It's entirely biological. It is highly fragile, and it's leaving the building forever. Companies will spend hundreds of millions of dollars optimizing their supply chains and their software stack.
Oh, constantly.
Yet they remain incredibly vulnerable when it comes to preserving actual human experience.
When that person leaves, the wisdom leaves. But today, we're looking at a technology trying to permanently stop that brain drain.
It's a fascinating approach.
We are doing a deep dive into a press release from EON AI Ventures. They're introducing a standalone enterprise platform called EON Tacit.
EON Tacit, right.
So the mission for today's deep dive is to explore how this software aims to create what they call the living memory of the organization.
That's a bold claim.
It really is. We're going to tear into the mechanics of how it actually captures, verifies, and deploys human judgment, well, before the veteran expert punches out for the last time.
And the ambition of that mission is what really stands out here. They aren't just building a better digital filing cabinet or another corporate wiki. The target here is the operational instinct of an entire workforce, preserved at a massive scale.
And that specific focus, I think, is a massive reversal of the narrative we usually hear.
How do you mean?
Well, if you look at the broader conversation around artificial intelligence today, it revolves almost entirely around AI, like replacing human thought.
Oh, absolutely. Or generating endless streams of synthetic content.
Exactly. But EON Tacit's entire reason for existing is to rescue and elevate human wisdom. The system isn't trying to be the expert. It acts as the preservation mechanism for the human expert.
Which is a crucial distinction. And to understand the mechanics of how they plan to achieve that preservation, we really have to isolate the specific type of data they're hunting for.
Okay, let's get into that.
The platform is called EON Tacit because it specifically targets, tacit knowledge.
Let's draw a hard line there for the listener between the two types of knowledge we're dealing with, because most of us are very comfortable with explicit knowledge.
Right, the easy stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that is easy to write down and format. The safety checklist, the employee handbook, the step-by-step standard operating procedure, that is explicit.
And tacit knowledge is the polar opposite. It is deeply personal, it's highly dependent on context, and honestly, it's notoriously difficult to articulate.
Because you just kind of know it.
Exactly. The EON Tacit platform is engineered to capture the specific elements that those conventional explicit manuals always miss. The release outlines exactly what the system probes for.
Which is what?
Decisions, sentry queues, rules of thumb, exceptions, near misses, asset quirks, and most importantly, the crucial why behind any expert's action.
Think of it like a master chef's recipe.
I like that analogy.
Right, so the official explicit manual on the kitchen wall says, bake the pastry for exactly 20 minutes at 350 degrees.
Right.
But the master chef, the human, with 20 years of burned fingers and ruined dough, knows that you actually need to take it out at 18 minutes if it rained that morning, because the humidity is high in the kitchen.
Or, even more intuitively, they know to pull it from the oven the absolute second. It smells slightly like toasted almonds.
Yes. That toasted almond smell is the sensory cue. That is the tacit knowledge.
And the explicit manual provides the baseline, sure.
Uh-huh.
But the tacit knowledge constitutes the actual mastery.
Right.
Historically, extracting that mastery has been a massive bottleneck for companies. typically requires a highly trained human interviewer to sit across from that chef or, a factory floor manager and relentlessly interrogate them.
You're just asking why over and over.
Exactly, asking, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Until they finally uncovered the detail about the toasted almonds.
Well, the press release details their solution to this exact bottleneck. They have a capture mechanism they call the Tacit Interview Studio.
Right, the studio.
And it features two modes. There's a human interviewer who is assisted by an AI co-pilot, or, and this is the wild part, an entirely autonomous AI interview.
The autonomous mode is fascinating.
Yeah, it is. But this is where I need to apply some heavy skepticism. Like, can a piece of software really probe a human effectively for something as slippery and intuitive as a near miss or a sensory cue?
It's a fair question.
Right. How does an AI sitting on a server know to ask a human about the smell of almonds?
So the underlying software architecture approaches this by treating the official manual as merely a starting point. It's not the destination. The autonomous AI is not just having a casual, open-ended chat with the expert. It is cross-referencing the standard operating procedures in real time, and it's systematically hunting for operational gaps.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, during the interview, the AI walks the expert through a known process, but its logic tree is designed to flag specific verbs, pauses, or deviations in the expert's speech.
So it's actively looking for the moments where the human naturally strays from the written script.
It acts as an anomaly hunter, essentially. If the manual says, press the release valve, but the expert says, I always tap the valve twice before pressing it, the AI's natural language processing flags that deviation immediately.
Oh, wow.
It halts the progression and prompts the expert right there. You mentioned tapping the valve twice. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
What does the machine sound like if you don't?
It is computationally programmed to mine for the edges of the process.
I see. It's using the explicit knowledge as a wireframe.
Right.
And it's like poking at all the empty spaces in that wireframe to see what the human fills it in with.
That's a great way to put it.
But, okay, capturing thousands of these subjective, highly personal rules of thumb across a massive industrial workforce, that creates a terrifying new problem.
The hallucination risk.
Yes. If you collect all these anecdotes, how do you prevent the system from turning into a tangled, contradictory mess? Because if I am on a factory floor and I ask the system how to fix a critical pressure valve, and it gives me a hallucinated answer based on someone's half-remembered story from 5 years ago.
That is a literal disaster.
Exactly.
You've identified the single biggest hurdle in deploying large language models in high-consequence environments. Hallucination is just unacceptable.
So EON addresses this through the core architecture of the platform, which they call Tacit Brainy.
Tacit Brainy.
Yes, this acts as the trusted intelligence core. And they break this core down into 4 interconnected capabilities to aggressively filter and structure all that raw data.
Okay, so the first capability they list is the Knowledge Refinery. And to understand how this works, we have to look at what happens immediately after the interview ends.
Right, you just have raw audio.
Yeah, you have an hour of messy audio. The expert was rambling, maybe backtracking, using slang. The Knowledge Refinery doesn't just transcribe that audio, it parses it.
Breaks it down.
Exactly. It breaks a meandering story down into discrete entities. So if the expert said, when the pressure gauge ticks past 40, I always listen for a high-pitched whine before shutting the secondary valve, the refinery identifies the cause, the sensory effect, and the required action. It structures it all into usable data points.
Right, so the messy human conversation is converted into distinct source-linked knowledge items.
Yeah.
But those items are totally useless if they can't be retrieved in the right context. And this leads to the second capability, the knowledge graph.
We hear the term knowledge graph thrown around a lot in tech lately, but in this specific context, it is the difference between a smart system and a really dumb search engine.
Exactly. Instead of a flat document where you just, CTRL-F for a keyword, a knowledge graph uses nodes and edges.
Nodes and edges.
Right. Think of it as a 3-dimensional web. If a sensory cue like high-pitched whine is a node, the graph mathematically links it via edges to an asset failure node, a specific valve node, and a safety risk node.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when a worker asks a question about that valve, the AI instantly pulls up the interconnected context rather than just returning a document that happens to contain the word valve.
Which makes the data highly contextual.
Very.
But the third capability is where the platform establishes its actual authority, I think. It is the trust engine.
The trust engine is critical here.
EON implements incredibly strict governance rules, governed by a very specific philosophy, which is AI proposes, but authorized people verify.
I love that phrase. The press release uses a definitive rule for the trust engine. Cited or it does not show.
Right.
Draft knowledge, meaning an insight the AI extracted from the interview but hasn't been human approved yet, is never silently promoted to the level of approved truth.
It has to be verified.
Every single answer the system generates must link back to the exact source evidence and the specific expert who provided it.
So let's apply that to a real-world scenario. Imagine you're the listener and you are managing a major power plant.
Okay.
The trust engine also manages the age and decay of knowledge, which they tie into their fourth capability, the living loop.
The living loop. Yeah.
The living loop ensures that a cooling procedure from, say, 2019 doesn't quietly masquerade as current guidance for a machine that was upgraded in 2024.
Right, because things change.
Yeah, the system flags that the knowledge is review due, and the living loop automatically writes it back to your current senior engineers for re-verification.
Because knowledge is not static. It decays.
Yeah.
The living loop prevents this organizational memory from becoming a dangerous museum of outdated practices.
Exactly.
It creates a continuous feedback cycle between the factory floor and the governance team.
But you know, the trust engine has to deal with human nature too, and this brings up a detail in the source material that genuinely surprised me.
Oh, what's that?
So imagine you have two 30-year experts on that same power plant floor. The AI interviews both of them, and they fundamentally disagree on how to solve a critical problem.
Ah, yes.
Right. Expert A says you must turn the emergency valve left. Expert B says turning it left will blow the gasket. You absolutely must turn it right. What does the AI do? Because you would think it tries to synthesize a consensus.
Because that is what traditional LLMs are built to do.
Exactly. They aim for a smooth statistical average.
Yeah, a traditional LLM would likely tell you to turn it slightly to the middle, which is physically impossible and totally useless.
Right.
But EON Tacit does the exact opposite. The documentation explicitly states that disagreement is preserved.
The system flat out refuses to blend them.
Yes. In high-consequence industrial work, disagreement is not an error to be smoothed over. It is a critical signal.
Oh, I see.
It indicates that a standard operating procedure is dangerously ambiguous, or that the manual itself is fundamentally flawed.
Right.
So Tacit Brainy preserves the conflicting expert views, keeps them attributed to their respective experts, and actively routes that conflict for human resolution.
It essentially raises a flag to management saying, hey, your two most experienced engineers disagree on a critical safety step. You need to intervene and establish the truth.
Exactly. It leverages the conflict as a diagnostic tool for the organization's overall operational health. It forces clarity instead of hiding the confusion.
Okay, so at this point in the architecture, we have captured the tacit knowledge, the refinery has structured it, the knowledge graph has connected the nodes, and the trust engine has verified it and routed the disagreements.
That's a lot of structuring.
Yeah, the organization now possesses this massive verified brain. But how does a technician out in the field actually tap into it?
The deployment phase operates on a very clear architecture rule. The agent is the face. Tacit Brainy is the brain.
Got it.
The user never directly interacts with the raw database or the messy graph. They interact with specialized interfaces built on top of it.
And the release outlines a graduated scale of deployment, starting with what they call Ask Tacit.
Right, which is the most straightforward interaction.
Yeah. It provides everyday cited answers delivered by text or voice. You just type a question into your device and you get a verified answer with a hyperlink directly to the source evidence.
It basically functions as an incredibly powerful, hyper-specific internal search engine.
Right.
But organizations can step up the deployment to Brainian Agent, which acts as a conversational mentor.
A mentor.
Yeah, instead of just handing you a link, the AI explains the approved knowledge to you, adjusting to your level of understanding. And this can be voice only. Or it can feature an actual embodied visual avatar.
Now, the concept of an embodied face brings up massive privacy and likeness concerns.
Definitely.
But the release does address this head-on. It notes that consent is strictly controlled. The voice or avatar presentation of an expert is entirely optional. And the human expert retains the right to revoke that permission at any time.
So the company isn't just harvesting employee faces without consent.
No, not at all.
The governance around identity is just as strict as the governance around the data itself, which is good.
Yeah.
Moving beyond individual queries, the platform also features the situation room.
You're right, the situation room.
This takes this verified organizational memory and converts it into proactive learning cards, courses, and practice scenarios.
And the source mentions EON Genesis 3.0 and an EON 9 live roadmap in this section. To give that some context for the listener, Genesis 3.0 is EON's spatial AI and simulation engine.
Spatial AI.
Yeah, so this means the system isn't just generating basic text quizzes. It is taking the data from the knowledge graph and building three-dimensional immersive practice scenarios.
Wow.
So workers can physically train against the tacit knowledge captured from the experts.
It moves the knowledge from abstract text into spatial reality.
Exactly.
However, the most critical deployment method outlined in the release is incident assist.
Yes, this is a big one.
Because the everyday mentoring and the spatial training, those are designed for controlled environments. Incident assist is engineered for emergencies.
Right, because if an alarm is blaring on an offshore oil rig and your adrenaline is spiking, a worker does not have the cognitive bandwidth to read a 3-page explanation generated by a conversational mentor.
No, they require rapid, high-stress readability. So incident assist is a separate permission-controlled mode. It strips away all the conversational elements and prioritizes immediate evidence retrieval.
But this introduces a massive liability, doesn't it? I mean, relying on an AI during an active industrial emergency requires absolute certainty regarding the system's authority.
Oh, absolutely. And the release draws a definitive hard boundary here. Incident assist is strictly advisory and procedure aware.
Okay.
It explicitly states that it does not authorize work. It does not replace employer procedures. It does not override physical safety systems, and it absolutely does not replace qualified human judgment.
So the system is entirely aware of its own limitations.
Yes. It is designed for learning and bounded for operations.
I think it's the exact difference between a flight simulator and an autopilot system.
How do you mean?
Well, during a mid-air crisis, this AI is not flying the plane for you. It refuses to take control of the yoke or press any buttons.
Right.
Instead, it acts as a hyper-competent co-pilot that instantly pulls out the massive technical manual, flips it to the exact right page, highlights the critical sequence in yellow, and just holds it up for you to see.
That's a perfect way to picture it.
But you, the human in the seat, are still the one flying the plane. You make the final call.
It accelerates the human's ability to make a decision, rather than making the decision for them.
Exactly. And looking at those strict boundaries makes perfect sense when you analyze who EON is actually targeting with this technology right now.
Right, because this isn't a tool for a marketing agency trying to remember how to format a weekly newsletter.
No, definitely not.
EON Tacit is currently advancing through fixed-scope proof-of-concept deployments, specifically targeting industrial and high-consequence organizations.
Because the stakes are so different. If an expert retires from a social media firm, it's an annoyance.
Sure.
But if the one person who truly understands the eccentricities of the secondary cooling system at a nuclear facility retires, that is a high-consequence knowledge loss. That is a tangible danger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And these initial deployments are intentionally constrained. They focus on a defined expert cohort, perhaps just the senior maintenance engineers in a single manufacturing plant.
Right.
They build a highly accurate domain pack of knowledge from that specific group before attempting to scale the system across a massive global enterprise.
It is a very measured, low-risk rollout strategy.
It is, which brings into focus the why now of this entire platform. There's a quote in the press release from Dan Lejerskar, the founder of EON AI Ventures, that really crystallizes the philosophy driving this deep dive.
Oh, what did he say?
He states, everyone is racing to generate content with AI. We are doing the opposite, capturing the one thing AI cannot generate. 40 years of judgment that exists only in one person's head.
That is such a profound point.
It really highlights a vulnerability in the current tech landscape. I mean, we're drowning in synthetic generation, synthetic text, synthetic images, synthetic code. But synthetic experience does not exist.
Yeah.
You cannot prompt a foundational model to instantly possess 4 decades of physical trial and error, the memory of near misses, and the physical intuition of a burned hand.
That data must be lived.
Exactly.
And I think that connects directly to how you, the listener, might be viewing the current trajectory of technology. We're all surrounded by this ambient anxiety that AI is inevitably going to render human knowledge obsolete.
That we're all just going to be replaced by chatbots.
Exactly, that we're slowly being replaced. But EON Tacit represents a billion-dollar bet on the exact opposite premise. The entire architecture of this platform is built on the belief that human lived experience, your judgment, your hard-won intuition is actually the most valuable, irreplaceable data set on Earth.
The AI isn't the star of the show.
No, it's just the microphone engineered to record the true star, which is human expertise.
Summarizing the mechanics we've explored, The platform is a comprehensive pipeline for elevating that human expertise. It begins with the AI-driven interview studio, acting as an anomaly hunter to mine for sensory cues and hidden deviations.
Right.
That fragile tacit knowledge is then aggressively parsed, structured into a knowledge graph, and verified within the Tacit Brainy core, ensuring that trust and source attribution are absolute.
Cited or it does not show.
Exactly. And finally, it is responsibly activated, whether as a daily search tool, a spatial training simulation, or a strictly bounded advisory system during a high-stakes emergency.
It is literally a machine designed to ensure that wisdom does not expire.
Well said.
But, building on the concept of the embodied agent we discussed earlier, I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought.
Okay.
The release noted that an expert's voice and likeness can be optionally used as a conversational mentor.
Right, the digital avatar of the retiring expert.
Ponder the implications of that for a moment. If an organization can successfully capture a master expert's exact problem-solving intuition, map it into a knowledge graph, and then present it through a digital avatar long after that person has retired to a beach somewhere.
Wow, yeah.
How does that fundamentally change our relationship with our own professional legacy?
The broader implication is staggering. I mean,
Yeah.
will the incoming generation of industrial workers in 2035 literally be mentored by the interactive digital ghosts of their predecessors?
It's wild to think about. And if your specific tacit knowledge, your unique, quirky way of solving problems that no manual could ever teach, if that could realistically outlive your entire biological career, how does that change the way you view the value of your own daily experiences starting tomorrow morning?
It changes everything.
Suddenly, your intuition isn't just a fleeting thought. It is permanent organizational memory. Which brings us right back to the beginning. When that veteran expert finally packs up their desk and walks out the door for the last time, well, maybe the collective panic doesn't have to walk out with them.
Their legacy remains online, fully verified, and ready to answer the next question.
A living memory. Something to think about the next time you rely on your own intuition to solve a problem at work.